Before we begin, make sure to subscribe, like, and comment on Stoic Sage Wisdom. This channel is dedicated to bringing you powerful Stoic insights that can transform your life. If you're ready to unlock the wisdom of the ancient philosophers, hit that subscribe button now. Zeno of Citium, the man who founded Stoicism. Imagine waking up one morning as a wealthy merchant, secure in your possessions, your trade, and your future. Now, imagine losing it all in the blink of an eye. Your ship wrecked, your fortune swallowed by the sea, and your plans shattered. You find yourself stranded in a foreign land, penniless, without direction, and with no clear path ahead. Most people would succumb to despair, feeling that fate had been cruel and unjust. But one man, instead of mourning his losses, chose to embrace them as an opportunity to rebuild, not just his life, but a philosophy that would endure for centuries. His name was Zeno of Citium, and he would go on to lay the foundation of one of the most influential schools of thought in human history, Stoicism. But Zeno's story is not merely an account of historical significance. It is a timeless lesson in resilience, wisdom, and the power of the human mind. He teaches us that life's most unexpected turns, even those that seem like complete disasters, can lead us to paths we never imagined. His journey reminds us that no matter how lost, broken, or uncertain we feel, there is always a way forward, if we choose to see it. His experiences forged a way of thinking that would inspire not only the great minds of ancient Rome, like Seneca and Marcus Aurelius, but also countless people throughout the ages who seek inner strength in the face of adversity. So, let's step back into the ancient world and uncover the extraordinary life of Zeno of Citium, the man whose trials and triumphs gave birth to the philosophy of Stoicism, a philosophy that continues to guide those who strive for wisdom, tranquility, and virtue in an unpredictable world. A shipwreck that led to a revolution, Zeno of Citium was born around 334 BC in Citium, Cyprus, a city shaped by Greek and Phoenician influences. As a young man, he inherited his father's successful trading business and seemed destined for a life of wealth and stability. But fate had other plans. While sailing across the Mediterranean, a violent storm destroyed his ship, sinking his entire fortune. Most would have crumbled under such a loss, drowning in regret and despair. But Zeno, he adapted. Stranded in Athens, the intellectual capital of the ancient world, he wandered into a bookshop where he discovered a text about Socrates. As he read, a realization struck him. True wealth lies not in possessions, but in wisdom. Intrigued, he asked the bookseller, "Where can I find men like this?" The bookseller pointed to a rugged, unconventional man walking nearby, Crates of Thebes, a well-known Cynic philosopher. That moment marked the turning point in Zeno's life. What had begun as a tragedy became the first step toward a new path, one that would eventually lead him to lay the foundation of Stoicism. From student to master, Zeno became a student of Crates of Thebes, a well-known Cynic philosopher who rejected material wealth and lived with radical simplicity. At first, Zeno found it difficult to adjust. He was still tied to the remnants of his former life, the comfort, the status, the idea that wealth was a measure of worth. But Crates saw potential in him and was determined to break his attachment to these illusions. One day, as a lesson in humility, Crates handed Zeno a pot of lentil soup and instructed him to walk through the busy streets of Athens with it. Confused but obedient, Zeno did as he was told. Then, without warning, Crates smashed the pot, spilling the soup all over Zeno's clothes. The crowd around them turned to stare, and overwhelmed by embarrassment, Zeno ran away. But Crates called after him with a lesson Zeno would never forget. "Why do you run, my friend? The only thing that has been wounded is your pride." That moment struck Zeno deeply. He realized that shame, fear of embarrassment, and attachment to status were mere illusions. The things people spent their lives chasing, wealth, approval, comfort, were not the keys to happiness, but rather the chains that bound them. True strength came not from avoiding discomfort, but from mastering oneself in the face of it. Determined to seek wisdom, Zeno continued his studies under various philosophers, including Stilpo and Xenocrates. He absorbed teachings from different schools: Cynicism, Megarian logic, and Platonism, each offering insights into the nature of virtue, reason, and self-discipline. Yet, none of them fully satisfied him. Each philosophy had something valuable, but Zeno felt they lacked a unified system that could serve as a complete guide to life. So, after years of learning, questioning, and refining his understanding, Zeno decided to create something new, his own philosophy, one that blended logic, ethics, and self-mastery into a single, practical way of living. A philosophy that would teach people to remain unshaken by life's hardships, to find freedom in discipline, and to embrace reason over emotion. And so, Stoicism was born. The birth of Stoicism. Around 300 BC, in the bustling city of Athens, a man named Zeno of Citium began teaching a philosophy that would change the course of history. Unlike other philosophers of his time, who taught within the secluded walls of academies or temples, Zeno chose to share his wisdom in a public space, the Stoa Poikile, a painted colonnade in the heart of Athens. This open-air setting, filled with merchants, travelers, and ordinary citizens, reflected the inclusive nature of his teachings. It was here, in the midst of everyday life, that Stoicism was born, taking its name from the very place where it was first taught, the Stoa. But what exactly did Zeno teach? Building upon the ideas of earlier thinkers, he merged elements of Cynicism, Socratic reasoning, and Aristotelian ethics to form a new way of living, one rooted in resilience, wisdom, and self-discipline. His philosophy revolved around three core principles. Virtue is the only true good. While most people chase wealth, status, and pleasure, Zeno argued that these external things hold no real value. True happiness comes not from what we own, but from how we live. A virtuous life, one guided by wisdom, courage, justice, and self-control, is the only path to lasting fulfillment. Control what you can, accept what you can't. Much of human suffering, Zeno believed, comes from trying to control things beyond our power. We cannot dictate external events, nor can we change the nature of others, but we can control our thoughts, actions, and reactions. Mastering our own minds is the key to inner peace. Live in harmony with nature. Life follows its own natural order, and resisting it only leads to frustration. Instead of battling fate, we should align ourselves with the natural flow of the universe. By accepting life as it comes and acting in accordance with reason, we can find true serenity. These ideas laid the foundation for Stoicism, a school of thought that would shape some of the greatest minds in history. From the powerful meditations of Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius to the sharp wisdom of Seneca and the teachings of Epictetus, Stoicism would go on to guide leaders, warriors, and scholars for centuries. Even today, over 2,000 years later, Zeno's philosophy remains as relevant as ever, offering timeless wisdom for anyone seeking strength, clarity, and purpose in an uncertain world. Zeno's legacy in real life. Zeno of Citium didn't just teach Stoicism, he lived it. Unlike many philosophers who sought wealth, status, or comfort, Zeno embraced a simple, disciplined life. He practiced the very principles he preached, proving that philosophy wasn't just an intellectual exercise, but a way of being. His commitment to virtue over material wealth was evident when the Athenians, impressed by his wisdom, offered him citizenship and a luxurious mansion. Most people would have accepted without hesitation, but Zeno declined, saying, "I have no need of a mansion when I have found peace in my mind." To him, external luxuries were insignificant compared to inner tranquility. Even when he became famous, he remained humble and content with little. On one occasion, a wealthy admirer offered him a massive sum of money. Zeno simply smiled and refused, saying, "Why should I take more than I need?" His philosophy wasn't about rejecting wealth itself, but about understanding that happiness doesn't come from riches. It comes from wisdom, self-control, and contentment. But Zeno's teachings aren't just historical anecdotes. they hold deep relevance for our lives today. Think back to a time when you experienced loss. Maybe it was a job, a relationship, or a personal dream that slipped away. In the moment, it may have felt like the world was crumbling around you. But what if that loss wasn't an end, but a beginning? Consider J.K. Rowling, the author of Harry Potter. Before she became one of the most successful writers in history, she was jobless, divorced, and struggling to raise her daughter. Life had stripped away everything she thought she needed. But instead of giving up, she kept going, writing the book that would change her destiny. Like Zeno, she turned hardship into triumph, proving that setbacks often lead us to greater paths. The same lesson applies to all of us. When life takes away your ship, it might not be the disaster it seems. Maybe, just maybe, it's guiding you to Athens, the end of a life, the beginning of a legacy. Zeno lived a long life, respected by the Athenians for his wisdom and integrity. One day, at the age of 72, he tripped and broke his toe. Seeing it as a sign from nature that his time had come, he calmly took his own life, believing he had fulfilled his purpose. His death was not one of despair, but of acceptance. He had lived by his philosophy, and he was at peace with whatever came next. Over 2,000 years later, his teachings continue to inspire millions worldwide. Stoicism has helped entrepreneurs, athletes, soldiers, and ordinary people navigate hardships with courage and wisdom. It can help you too. Apply Stoicism. Today, Zeno's story is proof that we are not defined by what happens to us, but by how we respond. If you lose something, adapt like Zeno. If you fear embarrassment, face it like he did. If you want peace, seek wisdom over wealth. Let Zeno's life be a reminder that no matter how bad things seem, there is always a way forward. The only thing standing between you and greatness is your mindset. If you found this story inspiring, make sure to subscribe, like, and comment on Stoic Sage Wisdom. Let's keep the wisdom of the Stoics alive and apply it to our modern lives. Thanks for watching. And remember, you control your mind, not the world. Stay strong, stay stoic.